Good morning. My name is Lonnie Ford, and I knocked on my door at 11:30 p.m. on July 31st, 2006. Changed my life and that of my family forever. 2 military chaplains and a sergeant before myself and my wife that my only son, Joshua Andrew Ford, age 20, was killed by an IED while on a convoy with the 189th Transportation Company in Iraq. Another soldier, Ben Marksmeyer, was severely injured and lost his right leg by the same explosion. The news of Josh's death, the questions we had that the chaplains could not answer, numbed one very quickly. Thoughts of Josh's birth, thoughts of a little blonde-haired boy having to stand in the corner for being naughty, a teenage boy who convinces his dad to allow him to use newly purchased inline skates without protective equipment, resulting in a broken wrist. The average student in his dad's American government class refusing to take notes, but passing all the tests. The very scared boy who wrecked his dad's car, and the more scared father who thought he could have lost his son. The very proud young man, and very, very proud father in attendance, graduating from his advanced individual training classes at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, flashed very quickly through your mind. The thoughts of what we do now. When will Josh be brought home? Did he suffer? Was he alone at the time of his death? Was anyone else injured or killed? How will his sisters, grandmother, and other family members react to the news? How do we deal with the press? Where will we bury Josh? How will I handle the loss of one of my children, which is not the normal order of life? The parent is supposed to die first. All these questions make you wonder how you will get through the next few days, months, and even years. My wife Linda and I spent the rest of that night and part of the next morning traveling the highways to inform my 3 daughters, Jessica, Aaron, and Sean, and other immediate family members of our loss. When we arrived home after spending about 9 hours on the road, many of our friends, relatives, Brad Whelan, the National Guard recruiter who signed Josh up to serve our great nation, and others were there to help us deal with everything. Phone calls from our elected officials were received telling us how proud we were of Josh and his ultimate sacrifice, and asking what we could do for us. Meeting with my CAO, Casualty Assistance Officer Susan Traub, helped to answer many of our questions. One learns very quickly how the military handles the loss of one of their own. We buried Josh on August 10, 2006, with full military honors. Josh was promoted to the rank of sergeant and awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. More than 170 Patriot Guard riders attended Josh's funeral to shield us by lining the sidewalk from the school where we gathered as a family to the church holding the American flag to honor another fallen hero from the protesters that were part of the Church of Kansas. I am now a proud member of a group that no one wants to join, the Gold Star families, those families who have lost a family member in combat. Today, several Nebraska families and National Guard members belong to this group, along with many other Nebraskans from the various other service units of our great nation. My son Josh was an average kid. Until he was a junior in high school, he was a couch potato who loved to play video games, watch movies, draw, and spend time with his friends. One day in February of his junior year, he asked to speak to the National Guard recruiter, a good friend of mine, who was at our school to talk to the students about the benefits of joining the Guard. I was surprised at the request and asked if he wanted me to go along with him. His answer was, "Old man," and that is what Josh liked to call me, "this is something I can do by myself." A half hour later, I signed the papers for Josh to become a member of our Nebraska Army National Guard, and I was a very, very proud father. Josh went to boot camp that summer at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, returning home 40 pounds lighter and a very proud young man. After his senior year, he attended his advanced individual training at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, where he learned to drive those big trucks, which he was so proud to do. Josh was enrolled at Wayne State, majoring in art, when he received his deployment orders notifying him that the 189th Transportation Company would be taking part in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Josh was a truck driver with the 189th and was very proud of the job his unit was doing in Iraq. He constantly told me how close of a group the 189th was. He often described them as his second family. Josh even considered a couple of his friends convinced a couple of his friends to join the Guard. His closest friend, Jeff Meyer, was in the convoy when Josh was hit by the IED. One of his main concerns while in Iraq were the children. Josh would give them bottles of water and whatever else he had with him. I found out that Josh was a PX Ranger when preparing for a mission. This means he would go to the post store and load up on water, pop, candy, and smokes. He then would share what he had with the other members of the convoy and with the children that he encountered. He was also known as Blockbuster Josh. Josh had over 400 videos and CDs which he would gladly lend to other members of the 189th as long as they signed his notebook with the video they wanted, the day they checked it out, and the day they would return it. One sergeant told me he went to get a video from Josh, and Josh told him he could have any video he wanted as long as he signed the book. The sergeant reminded Josh that he controlled his life, what duty he could assign him to, and if he got paid on time. Josh replied that he understood that, but he had the videos. The sergeant signed the book. At the end of April, Josh came home on a 2-week leave. He pigged out on steak and potatoes and spent time with his girlfriend, whom he asked to marry him. He spoke to my class and if I was really talking to my son, because he would never have volunteered to talk in front of a large group before he joined the Guard. Josh visited with friends and family. He seemed so relaxed and at peace with himself. During this time, he told me that he finally understood why it was tough on him as he was growing up, that I wanted him to be the best he could. 3 months later, Josh was killed that fateful night in July, changing my life and that of my family. I think of that night often. It is something that I will carry with me the rest of my life. Josh's life was so short, but so full at the same time. His smile put you at ease. His cigarettes caused you concern. His love of life gave you hope. His love of little children showed his compassion. His love for driving the big trucks brought about his end. Josh was a friend to many, a cousin, nephew, grandson, uncle, brother, son, and most of all, our hero. Josh, may you rest in peace, and we will see you again. I am now a proud member of the Patriot Guard Riders who are here today. I purchased a Harley-Davidson Softail Classic at the end of May 2007. I rode my first mission the second week of June. The Patriot Guards help protect the fallen heroes and their families from those who would dishonor these brave young men and women and their families at a time of great sadness, the burial of their loved ones. The Patriot Guard Riders are a group of patriotic Americans who stand by our current military personnel and demonstrate that there indeed is true patriotism in this great nation of ours. The Patriots ride every type of motorcycle you can imagine. Some look a little scary at first: leather vests, beards, blue jeans, and those big bikes. But once you talk to them, they put you at ease. They will take time off of work, use up their sick days and vacation days to travel anywhere in Nebraska, the surrounding states, or our nation to protect our fallen heroes and their families. Since Josh's death, I've taken part in 9 Patriot Guard missions, escorting from the airport to the funeral home or attending the funeral of other fallen heroes from Nebraska and Iowa. I am very proud to stand by these veterans, many of them having served in Korea, Vietnam, First Gulf War, Operation Iraqi Freedom, or others, like myself, who have lost family members in this war on terrorism, or just patriotic Americans. We can never forget the great sacrifice that our veterans have made for this nation.
Tell as much as you want to say.
I'm here today to honor my son, who was killed July 31st, 2006, as well as to remember all the fallen soldiers and all the veterans in this holiday season. Josh was a typical young man who joined the National Guard and served his nation the best he could. And one of my goals is to have people remember the sacrifices that our young men and women are making today.